chapter 7. After these things, Jesus walked in Galilee, for he would not walk in Jewry, because the Jews sought to kill him. Now the Jews' feast of tabernacles was at hand. His brethren therefore said unto him, Depart hence, and go into Judea, that thy disciples also may see the works that thou doest. For there is no man that doeth anything in secret, and he himself seeketh to be known openly. If thou do these things, show thyself to the world, for neither did his brethren believe in him. Then Jesus said unto them, My time is not yet come, but your time is always ready. The world cannot hate you, but me it hateth, because I testify of it, that the works thereof are evil. Go ye up unto this feast. I go not up yet unto this feast, for my time is not yet full come. When he had said these words unto them, he abode still in Galilee. But when his brethren were gone up, then went he also up unto the feast, not openly, but as it were in secret. Then the Jews sought him at the feast, and said, Where is he? And there was much murmuring among the people concerning him. For some said, He is a good man. Others said, Nay, but he deceiveth the people. Howbeit no man spake openly of him, for fear of the Jews. Now about the midst of the feast, Jesus went up into the temple and taught. And the Jews marveled, saying, How knoweth this man letters, having never learned? Jesus answered them and said, My doctrine is not mine, but he that sent me. If any man will do his will, he shall know of the doctrine, whether it be of God, or whether I speak of myself. He that speaketh of himself seeketh his own glory, but he that seeketh his glory that sent him, the same is true, and no unrighteousness is in him. Did not Moses give you the law, and yet none of you keepeth the law? Why go ye about to kill me?
Hey, Shalom. Praises to Yahawashi, Yahawashi, Rakakodashe. Much mercy to you, sincere brothers out there, the true house of David. And Shalom to all you brothers that have the Lord's doctrine, that understand the Lord's doctrine, and that are actually in the spirit, and that can actually understand the new covenant rather than just teaching it. What I want to explain real quick, and this is going to be a quick lesson. I just wanted to go over this. Now, Paul said too, even if guys are teaching, matter of fact, before I get into John 7, let's read this in Philippians. It's a beautiful thing, the new covenant is being taught, but you have to understand that everybody that's teaching it is of the world. I mean, not everybody that's teaching it is of the Lord. A lot of guys are of the world. And the way to see that guys are of the world, and I just did a lesson on how the doctrine of the new covenant has nothing to do with women, and it has nothing to do with this world. If you will study and examine the new covenant, you will see that in the Gospels, and as I'm going through Acts, you will see and you will understand for yourself that the only thing that consists of the Lord's doctrine was the teaching of Yahawashi and the teaching of the new covenant, which all revolved around Yahawashi and his law. The new covenant is the spirit. That's what the spirit is now. So if you're not teaching the new covenant, then you're not in the spirit. The prophecies in the Bible were already prophesied by those prophets, Jeremiah, Isaiah, all these prophets that prophesied Babylon. So when the Lord came, and a lot of you don't understand this, the prophecy now was the testimony of Yahawashi. That's what the spirit was. Everybody faded away. So if you're not really testifying Yahawashi or explaining him in this day, that's why we do these lessons, so you can understand the Lord, not the shit in the world. And all you guys that are teaching the news and shit and say you're teaching the new covenant, you're not in the spirit of the Lord, man. That's the spirit of the world and camps. That's not a part of the Lord's doctrine. Now, I wanted to do this lesson to show you that the prosecution, going back to prosecution again, John chapter 7, it shows you that the real prosecution that the Lord got, particularly in John 7, was of the Jews. And it's all through John, it's all through Matthew, how the elders and the high priest, they came against the Lord. And that is the prosecution in this time. Just like now, these camps are not teaching you the new covenant. They're telling you to wait on it. That's prosecution to the new covenant. They're drawing that out. They're taking that out. That's what they've taken away out of the scriptures. They took the covenant out and saying you're waiting on it. That's prosecution. And you guys that are not standing up for the Lord really, and you're lukewarm, and what I mean by lukewarm is like you're not all the way for the Lord. You're for elders, bro. You're supposed to be for the Lord, not fucking elders and their doctrine. A lot of you guys don't have a fucking backbone. But anyway, let me read this real quick, because Paul said we're set for the defense of the gospel, but there is going to be guys teaching in pretense, and guys are going to be teaching for envy and strife and shit like that. But we're teaching you how to see that guys are not that. We're teaching you how to see certain guys that are not teaching the new covenant as with the new covenant doctrine, with the covering and the garments of the new covenant. Because the way to teach the new covenant, the correct way, is that you have the Lord's doctrine, which pertains to the new covenant, explaining the Lord as they were in Acts. This is why we're doing a whole breakdown on the book of Acts. Because once you really understand what the new covenant was all about, then you're able to prophesy. You guys that are teaching this shit of the news and the world and like camps and shit, news articles and this, that, and the third, you're of the world, man. All right? We see you guys, man. It's crazy. It's like you go on certain guys' channel, it's like you go on CNN. They're just telling you about shit of the news. And where's the testimony of the Lord at? Guys don't have it in them like that. That's why guys go into women. That's why guys go into bricks. And the Lord and the apostles in them, they weren't talking about bricks. They weren't talking about microchips. Now, when you go to Revelations, that is the revelations of Yahawashi. Even in Revelations pertain to the revealing of the true men of the Lord, the revelation of Yahawashi, who's actually of the Lord. It's not about microchips like that. This whole doctrine of the new covenant, because you have to explain shit to Jake, because Jake just be teaching shit and then teaching the doctrine of the camp, thinking that's the new covenant. This ain't got nothing to do with how camps are teaching. I just want to make this real clear. Everything pertains unto the Lord. So if you don't understand that the new covenant is strictly about explaining the Lord and explaining his spirit and explaining him and his testimony and making men understand the Lord, then you don't have the Lord in you. Because in this time, the Lord tells you that he's in certain men. The Lord tells you, I read it the other day, I think in John 14, John 17, it tells you in that day you will know that the Lord is in you. So we know the Lord is in certain of us, and it's not in the majority. The Lord is not in the majority of people. And that's a fact. Look at the doctrine guys is teaching. Guys are teaching about the news and all types of shit. And the reason I'm bringing this out is so that you can understand that a lot of guys are not in the right spirit. And it's supposed to be that way. And the reason the Lord set us up is to be eyes to help you be able to see the right things. Because you got a lot of guys that are set up in the new covenant that's false brethren and false prophets, and they're working for the other evils. And if guys are not working for the other evils through the spirit, they're of the world. And they don't have the doctrine of Yahawashi. So I want to read this real quick. Philippians 1:17. but the other of love, knowing that I am set for the defense of the gospel. So we're supposed to actually defend the Lord and his gospel. We're supposed to defend the Lord and his doctrine. We're supposed to defend the Lord and what he actually did. This is our job. So this job ain't for everybody. But everybody say they're teaching the new covenant and they're teaching whatever the fuck they want to teach. Just know that that has nothing to do with the testimony of the Lord. And a lot of you can't understand that Yahawashi, that his testimony, that the new covenant is all about the Lord and his testimony. It ain't about shit of the world. That is the main thing they were teaching in Acts. So a lot of guys, you guys that don't have that testimony, you're not in the spirit of the new covenant. Now it says, Philippians 1:17, but other love, knowing that I am set for the defense of the gospel, what then, notwithstanding every way, whether in pretense or in truth, the anointed is preached, and therein do rejoice, yea, and will rejoice. So we're rejoicing just because a lot of guys are just teaching the new covenant. But you got to be able to see guys that don't have the doctrine. Guys are still teaching like they're part of camps, but they say they're teaching the new covenant. You have to write those guys off. And a lot of you guys think this is about clicking up and being friends and doing Passovers and shit like that. You guys that have kept these old Passovers, you got to repent out of that fucking mind frame. But the truth about it is, a lot of you guys that say you're teaching the new covenant, you're of the old and you're acting like you're of the new. A lot of you guys your bottle's already been bursted, showing who you are. When the Lord goes into, you can't put new wine in the old bottles. For example, you'll have guys teaching the new covenant, and what will happen is they'll show you that they're actually an old bottle by what they'll start to teach. Either they'll start to teach the woman, or either they'll give you these carnal dates like camps did of the Passover. So guys will say they teach the new covenant, but they'll show you by their bottles bursting out who they really are. So they show you who they are because they spill out. They're not able to hold the new wine. They have to show you that they're of the old. By the women, or by their doctrine, or by how they're teaching the shit of the world. You have to understand this when the Lord told you that. You cannot put new wine in an old bottle lest the bottles break and spill all over the floor. So guys, they tell you what they're about by spilling out that they got to go on to women, or they got to go into the world, or they got to give you a carnal day for the old Passover, like a lot of you guys kept that old Passover. You got to separate from guys that's in the flesh. Now, you may be in the spirit, and you might not really understand this totally, and that's fine. If you sincere, you don't understand it. You think you think certain guys are cool. You think this, you think that. That's why we're trying to show certain of you that you have to separate from guys that are showing you that they're of the flesh by their doctrine, by what they're teaching. You go to somebody's page and they got hella fucking news article, or they're going into women, or they're teaching all this shit of the world. Then you got to go back to what the Lord was teaching and what the apostles were teaching in Acts. Were they teaching that shit? No, they wasn't. This is how you can discern who's of God. All right. The new covenant specifically is not about the shit that's happening in the world. It's about the testimony of the Lord and what the Lord had to go through for teaching the new covenant doctrine. And it's about what the apostles were, the real apostles in Acts, what they were teaching. They didn't teach false doctrine, you were waiting on a body. They didn't teach false doctrine, you were waiting on spaceships. They didn't teach false doctrine that you were waiting on the covenant. They didn't teach that at all. They didn't teach bricks in Acts. They didn't teach the microchip in Acts like that. And the microchip is just an indication. It's a certain place where Revelations tell you where everything was at. It just gives you a time, like that's just that indicates where you are in prophecy. But the main thing about Revelations is the revealing of who's of God in Revelations. A lot of you guys don't understand that because these carnal motherfuckers been teaching carnally for 30 years, and they're not even of God at all, because they've never been in the new covenant. They've been denying it since they've been teaching this. And that is why guys have been set up to get you not to follow the Lord's covenant. They've been keeping you in the old. Now the gig is up now. The gig is up on all you guys. I'm just telling you. The gig is up on all you guys. All you false teachers of the new covenant that don't really have the testimony. You don't have the garments on. Because I go to you guys' page and just by what your videos are about, you're about the world. Just because it was in the Bible, right? The apostles in Acts 2, and this is what Paul meant. Everything is lawful, but it's not expedient, meaning that the most things may be in the Bible, but it's not profitable for you right now. What's profitable is the Lord, learning him, seeing if you line up with him. Because if you don't really line up with the Lord, and you don't have faith, you don't really believe in the Lord, then it don't matter. You're teaching all these prophecies because you're not even of God by your fucking doctrine. All you fucking carnal ass guys in these last days that crept in unaware. You're the world, man, a lot of you guys. And it's only a few brothers that really have the testimony in them like that. It's only a few. It's only a few of us, man. The rest of you guys, you're of the world, man. You don't really have the testimony in you like that. So I want to go into this. But Paul said either in pretense or in truth. Matter of fact, let's get this word pretense, and then we're going to go to John 7. You could see everybody's intentions in this time. You could really see it. Now, let's go to this real quick. And the Lord, like I've said, it was Acts 20 that Paul said that we are overseers. So by us being overseers in the spirit, we're warning you, letting you know that everybody don't have the spirit and the testimony that say they're teaching the new covenant. These camps definitely don't have it because they really don't understand that it's all about teaching the new covenant, not being against it right now. So they're reprobate. They're totally reprobate. They're totally of the fucking world. And soon as the elect come out of these groups, then it's over. The elect, these camps, they're teaching against the new covenant, bro. It's heavy. That's the prosecution right there. So I want to get that word pretense, whether in pretense or in truth. So you got a few brothers that are really teaching the new covenant in truth. Then you got a lot of guys that are teaching in pretense just because. You have to watch that.
Strong's G 4392. Prophesis.
So there were pretense.
Prophesis.
There were pretense in what's that? Philippians right here, 1 in I think it's 17, 1 in 18. Now that word pretense, a pretext, alleged reason, pretended cause. So you got certain guys that's teaching the new covenant and they're pretending like they're of it. And so how you can see that is that when you go on a motherfucker page, all their videos is about the world, and they're going into women, and they're telling you about the shit that's happening in the world. When you do that, you're casting spells. You're being a sorcerer. For real, I'm breaking this down to you. The apostles in Acts, the doctrine was Yahawashi. Now, did they know about all the prophecies, the prophets in the old covenant? Yeah, they knew about all that shit. Like we know about all that shit. We know about a lot of shit. We don't just teach it because we know a bunch of shit. A lot of shit ain't for you carnal motherfuckers. But I'm just giving you an example that this word pretense or in truth, you got certain brothers that's teaching because they're really of God in truth and sincere. Then you got a lot of guys that are just teaching because they're pretending that they're of the covenant and they're not. You have a lot of guys that are teaching, and the way to see them is by their doctrine that they're teaching. All right. I had to do this video. I couldn't go the rest of my day because I had this on my mind, because I just see a lot of you guys that are of the world and you crept into the new covenant thinking this is the next fad or something. No, if you're not really of it, you're not going to make it, my man. So you could pretend all day you want. If you really don't have the doctrine of the new covenant, then you're just as worse as these camps. You might even be a little worse. Because it's like, if you say you teach the new covenant, then you got to understand what the doctrine is. It is not the curriculum of camps and their prophecies. The new covenant had nothing to do with what these camps and the worldly camps and their doctrine, what they're teaching. It don't have nothing to do with the world. They're casting spells on you when they newscast and tell you about the news all fucking day. And then they say they're lining it up with the scriptures. The apostles in them, they wasn't doing that in Acts. They wasn't doing that just because they knew. Just because you know something, you just got to do videos on it. This ain't what that is, man. It's heavy. You guys don't understand it because you're not of the testimony. You don't understand the Lord like that. A lot of you guys are of the fucking world. That's why we telling brothers to see certain things, man. Don't just be fucking hanging out with guys just because you think they're cool. This ain't about cliques. This is about who's of the Lord and who's not. That's what this thing is. And we have to come hard. We're coming hard. We have to rebuke, exhort with all long suffering, like the scriptures say. That's what this new covenant is for. Because a lot of guys are creeping around in this thing and they're in the spirit of camp still. And we see every one of you motherfuckers, you imposters. So that word pretense, it goes into pretext, alleged reason, pretended cause. So a lot of guys are pretending in the new covenant. And a few brothers are really teaching in truth and sincerity. These are the ones that are of God. It says to show undercolor through they would do something in pretense. Ostensibly. Pretense. A cloak. When you have a cloak over something, it's like you acting like you doing something. You putting a cover over what your real intentions is. So a lot of guys are pretending that they're of the new covenant. And we can see you fucking guys. This is what the Lord said. Matthew 23:14. Woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites, actors. A lot of guys are good actors, man. I never forget that guy in Dallas said he wanted to be an actor. And he's a good actor. But he's a false prophet. Teaching false doctrine. That's what they're doing. Nobody's lying on these guys. See, you may see me and us brothers, we may do like a lot of videos, but I guarantee you, out of the videos you see, we are listening way more than we teach. Just say me, for example, I may teach a lot, but I'm listening to a lot of things. What I'm doing is observing. Because it gives me something that I can edify on the right way, because a lot of guys are teaching wrong. So a lot of guys are teaching for pretense. A lot of guys are pretending. All right? And this is why the Lord said you'll be hated of all men, because it ain't nowhere nobody can hide. Matthew 23:14. Woe unto you, scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make a long prayer. Right, guys, be pretending, doing these long videos and these prayers and shit, like these corrupt, just like the motherfuckers in the world, bro. Like these pastors of the world, these guys in this truth are way worse. And it's heavy because they've never been in the new covenant. So by them never being under the covenant and they're waiting on it, they've never been in the spirit. I don't give a fuck what they're saying. They're under the spirit of the old. They're a bunch of fucking pretenders too. It says, therefore ye shall receive the greater damnation. So a lot of you guys that are pretending, you're gonna receive the greater damnation because you're pretending and then you know you don't have it. Devouring widows. That's why you're not supposed to deal with none of these women like that. You're not supposed to use the new covenant. You're not supposed to use the new covenant for nothing carnal like that, especially to deal with women or nothing like that. It's heavy, bro. So guys are going to receive the greater damnation for being actors, all right, being pretenders. Now let's go to John 7, because the real prosecution is coming from our people, not Esau. Not Esau. You got to remember, man, you got to read and understand that Pilate, his thing was to show the Lord mercy. Our people, they didn't want to show the Lord mercy. They wanted to kill the Lord because they want to continue teaching false doctrine in the churches like they're doing right now. All right? Now this is John 7:1. And after these things, Yahawashi walked in Galilee, for he would not walk in Jewry, because the Jews sought to kill him. Because the Jews sought to kill him. Because the Jews sought to kill him. This is prosecution right here. Why? Because the Lord had his own doctrine. He didn't have the doctrine of the synagogues and the churches. It says, now the feast of the Jews, feast of tabernacles was at hand. And his brothers said, therefore, unto him, depart thee hence and go into Judea, that thy disciples also may see the works that thou doest. For there is no man that doeth anything in secret, and he himself seeketh to be known openly. If thou do these things, thou shalt show thyself to the world. That's right. So, in a sense that Yahawashi, he couldn't walk in certain cities openly like that. And why you can't walk in certain cities openly? Because what you're doing, certain cities didn't like what you were doing. You were teaching against what the doctrine and the synagogues were teaching. This is what the Lord was doing. So, like, you guys that don't really understand the new covenant and you're just teaching the news and you're teaching women and all that, you're pretenders, bro, because you don't really have it. And once we see you guys really don't have it, we separate from you guys. And we still know you guys come over here and listen to us, because this is where we have it over here. We're not pretending. And guys know we're not pretending. The real has to be somewhere. So we're warning the other real that's out there that a lot of guys are a bunch of fucking pretenders. All right? Guys are teaching for pretense. Now, this is John 7:5. For neither did his brethren believe in him. You see that? The majority of people, they don't believe in this new covenant. They don't believe in the Lord. Then Yahawashi said unto them, my time is not yet come, but your time is always ready. It says, the world cannot hate you, but it hateth me, because I testify of it that the works thereof are evil. Right? So we're letting you know, like the Lord was, that the works of this world, it is evil. Go ye up to the feast. I go not up yet unto this feast, for my time is not. I go not up yet unto this feast, for my time is not yet full come. When he said these things unto them, he abode still in Galilee. But when the brethren were gone up, then went he also up to the feast, not openly, but as it were in secret. You see that? So, in a sense, this word is really heading from everybody like that. Even though, like, a lot of guys know we're teaching, just like they knew the Lord was teaching, but it's hidden from the world like that. That's why I be trying to tell you, brothers, it ain't about you being seen like that. These guys that like to be seen, they're of the world, bro. They like to be seen, but don't have nothing inside of them to really edify you of the Lord. It's heavy. They could tell you everything about the world, though. You're not, this ain't like camps. These elders taught you, to line up the things in the world with the things that's happening in the scriptures. Yeah, they told you that. But with the new covenant, if you don't understand if you're of God, then it don't matter about the shit that you're teaching about in the world or women or this. If you don't understand you're of God first, then it does not matter about what's happening in the world. If you don't understand that you're of God first, or if you're of the new covenant, then it don't matter that you're teaching about all the shit of the world. Heavy. You got to understand if you're of God first. Now, check this out. But when his brethren were going up, then went him also up to the feast, not openly, but as it were in secret. Then the Jews sought him at the feast and said, where is he? Right. That's prosecution. They wanted to kill the Lord. For there was much murmuring among the people concerning him. For some did, he is a good man. Others say, nay, but he deceived the people. And that's what's happening now. Guys say, we're the new covenant doctrine demons. And a lot of guys are believing in us. And a lot of guys hate us for teaching. It's the same thing, it's the same spirit. So if you guys are not really in that spirit of explaining the Lord, then you're in the spirit of the world. And you cannot be an actor without us certain brothers seeing you. And I have to speak on this, man. It says, now about the midst of the feast, the Jews went up into the temple. It says, now about the midst of the feast, Yahawashi went into the temple and taught, and the Jews marveled, saying, how knoweth this man ladders, having never learned? Right, this guy ain't in the camp. Where'd he get that new covenant doctrine from? Now check out what the Lord said. Yahawashi answered and said, my doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. My doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. Our doctrine is not ours, but the Lord that sent us in this time. And if any man do his will, he shall know of the doctrine, whether it be of God or whether I speak of myself. Right. So a lot of you guys, by you teaching this shit of the world, you don't really understand the will of the Lord, because you're not doing the Lord's will by teaching his doctrine. So you don't really understand the Lord like that. He that speaketh of himself seeketh his own glory. That's why you have these elders, they say, hey, well, we've been teaching for 30, 40 years, and we teach this and we teach that, and everything didn't come from them, man. It didn't. It didn't. What came from these guys is a false doctrine and holding your ass in bondage. That's what I have came from these guys. It says, but he that seeketh his own glory, he that seeketh his glory, that sent him, the same is true, and no unrighteousness in him. So you have to teach the Lord's doctrine. It says, do not Moses give you the law, and yet none of you keep the law. Why ye go about to kill me? That's prosecution. You see that? So the Lord wasn't moving out there openly like that. And this is the point. And what the Lord was teaching was his own doctrine, which the Lord gave him the doctrine, and the Lord was teaching the new covenant. You guys are what you're teaching. Let's say you're teaching the covenant, you're still teaching the doctrine of the camp and the doctrine of the world and the doctrine of the flesh. So us brothers that are doing the will of God, we can see other guys that's not really doing the will of God too. And repent, man. With that, shalom.
Oh.